Welcome back, everyone, to the Bears Private Plays YouTube channel. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, and we have at least 55 more days straight of football, whether it's NFL, whether it's college. We have 55 consecutive days straight of football. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be a fan of sports. For the Tuesday night matchup, we're going to look at Florida International going up against Liberty. Not all the games are going to be great, but still football. I've got two player props for this game as well. Hope everybody enjoys their Tuesday, and let's break down some ball. All right, guys, take a look at the plays for Saturday afternoon. A lot of red on the board, some green on the board. Some plays it was just tough holding a ticket for. Going to break down all the games here. Missouri, plus 2.5. I'm not going to say Missouri didn't get the shit kicked out of them because they definitely did. But one call on the first drive of Missouri, no pass interference called. They probably would have scored a touchdown on the opening drive. Could have changed the entire game. Second drive, 75-yard touchdown called back for a legal man downfield, 1 yard past the line, which that's a flag, but sometimes that's not thrown. So two big plays really early in the game. Texas A&M capitalized, scored both touchdowns on their first and second drive. So Missouri put in a bad spot. If there was a pass interference call, maybe it was different, but I'm not going to. I mean, Missouri got killed. Let's be honest. Georgia, minus 22.5 against Auburn. This team is bad. Georgia is not going to be a contender this season for the title. They're not a very good team anymore, apparently. Not the Georgia that I thought they were in the second half against Alabama. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. They're just a top 10 team that I don't think has a chance to win the title. The Hawkeyes blow it in the second half because Cade McNamara can't hold the ball in his hands. He had 2 picks, 2 fumbles. Ohio State takes advantage of only having to go 15 yards every single drive. Then Washington, minus 2.5 against Michigan. Michigan held tough. Washington made a lot of mistakes. Didn't matter. They still won the game. We had SMU minus 6.5 against Louisville. They were actually plus 6.5, not minus 6.5 against Louisville. They did win that game outright. Scored a ton of points in that one. Rutgers plus 7 against Nebraska. That should be orange. That's a push. That was 14-7 final score there. Oregon State minus 11.5. I think they ended up winning in double or triple overtime, but minus 11.5 wasn't the play. Had a really bad injury I'm going to talk about in a second. Clemson minus 40.5. Did the job done. Going against Florida State, I think they won that game by 16. Tennessee minus 13 loses outright to Arkansas. All the big boys went down today, which is kind of fun to see. And then Arizona, Texas Tech, stopped watching the game after 7-3. Have no idea what it ended up at. Can't imagine it went over 65 or 62.5. So didn't even check. Maybe it won, but I didn't check. Ashton Jeanty over 190.5. Dude's insane. 185 yards I think he had in the first half. Didn't play a snap in the second half. So that's what I was talking about. It's kind of hard to hold some of these tickets because he didn't play in the second half. And the other loss for the player prop was J.M. Griffin. 38 yards in the first 5 carries. Looked like he was going to have 100, maybe 200 yards in the game. Really, really, really bad leg injury. I don't know if he broke his leg. I don't know if he tore everything in his leg, but he got carted off. Significant leg injury. Hope he's okay. Just sucks that we had the ticket there. Then Caleb Johnson kind of bailed us out. Over 80.5 rushing yards against Ohio State. Last drive, he broke off a big one. I think he finished with 85 yards. So decent play there. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. 4-6 on the game picks. 1-2 on the player props. Not ideal. 5-8 for Saturday, but pretty good on the season so far, 53-37. Let's try to get a win on Tuesday night. We're going to be looking at Florida International going up against Liberty. This is going to be a conference battle between these two teams. Both these teams coming in with a 1-0 conference record. FIU was able to pick up a win last week, getting a pretty good win against Louisiana Tech. And Liberty has yet to lose a game. They're coming in undefeated. They picked up a home win 2 weeks ago going up against East Carolina. Liberty has not played in 18 days. They last played against East Carolina. The game against Appalachian State got canceled last weekend. Then they didn't play a game last week, and they had a bye week. So they might come into this game a little bit rust, but they're definitely a lot more rested than FIU. But I still think FIU can give them a run for their money. I'm going to take them with the points here. Plus 19.5 is to play. Actually, right now it's plus 17.5 looking at my phone. So we'll take 17.5 as to play. Liberty, it's a really good team, but they're actually a little bit worse than what they were last season to start the year. And they have not been very good at covering the spreads this season so far. They've played 4 cupcake games to start the year. They've only covered one of those games. FIU has been able to cover the spread in 3 of their first 5 games so far. And the number for Liberty this season, they're pretty good, but going up against some of these bad teams, I expected them to blow them out, and they just haven't been able to do that. FIU has some weapons on the offensive side, including Keon Jenkins, a sophomore quarterback. He has a couple really good wide receivers on the outside that can do some damage in this game going up against Liberty, including Eric Rivers. So I'm going to talk about him on one of the player props today. But they haven't been great with the run game this season. I do expect them to throw the ball a lot in this game against Liberty, who struggles in the secondary. They are scoring 27.6 points per game. That's pretty good for them. They're giving up 28 points per game. Not ideal on the defensive side, but if they can keep Liberty under 40 points, they can cover the spread here. Liberty going up against New Mexico State was only able to come away with an 18-point win, and New Mexico State, they're not a very good team this season. They also didn't cover the spread in that last game going up against East Carolina. So while this team has a lot of talent, they just can't cover the spread right now. Kind of like the Chiefs of the NFL. We should see a healthy dose of both running backs in this game for Liberty. One of them I'm going to be breaking down on the player prop side. But this is kind of a defense that doesn't stop the run on FIU and a defense that doesn't stop the pass in Liberty. So I do expect FIU to throw the ball down the field. Liberty control some clock, run the piss out of the ball really, and control the clock, gets points that way. But I do think FIU with the passing offense that they have, they can take this game covering the spread at least. So I'm going to take them plus 17.5 now as the game pick there. Let's go over to some player props. For the first player prop, we are going to be looking at the wide receiver for FIU. These props are not out yet. I'm hoping that they drop. These games that are not as high-key top 25 matchups, it's always tough to know if they're going to drop them on these sports books. But right now, they have no lines out. They do have touchdown props out, so that's a promising start. Hoping that they drop these lines for this game because I do want to bet both these players. But we're going to take Eric Rivers here of FIU. He's the leading wide receiver so far for Florida International. Both these teams have struggled on the defensive side, just a little bit different than the other. Liberty giving up a lot of passing yards and FIU giving up a lot of rushing yards. Liberty's giving up 313 yards per game, and 2/3 of that's coming through the air. On paper, it looks like they're pretty good defensively, but they haven't played hardly anybody this season. And I do think FIU, with the quarterback play they have, the weapons they have on the outside, they're going to be able to move the ball up and down the field here. I'm going to go with Eric Rivers here as the plays. Coming into this game with 19 catches on the year, 353 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I think the most impressive thing about him is he's averaging 18.6 yards per catch. He is the big hit guy for this team, and he has been used a ton over the last 3 games. It took him a while to get going this season, having pretty poor games in the first 2 starts, but over the last 3 games, he's had at least 97-plus yards in all 3 of them, and he's had 4-plus catches in all 3 of them as well. I'm not entirely sure what his over is going to be set at, but I would assume it's going to be somewhere in the high 60s, maybe in the 70s, just off the stats that we've seen so far this season from him. And with the way he makes big plays for his team, this might just be one catch and done. He might get a 70-yard catch on the first drive of the game. I'll take his over receiving yards here as the play whenever it comes out. And then for the other player prop tonight, we're going to be looking at the other side with Liberty, their running back, Quentin Cooley, going up against FIU. Again, none of the numbers are out yet for this game, so I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be at. I think the most likely number is going to be in the high 80s or 90s, but we could see this hitting triple digits. That's because FIU this season has been torched on the ground, and Liberty does love to run the ball. They've got 2 running backs so far this season with 50-plus carries, and Cooley is one of those running backs. He was the go-to man for Liberty last season, having nearly 1,500 yards on the ground and 200-plus carries, but he has to split some carries this season with another really good running back who came in, and he's doing a really good job for Liberty. And even though he is splitting carries, he's still getting about 15-plus carries per game. So we have no problem here with the workload. FIU this season is giving up more rushing yards than passing yards, 187.8 yards per game on the ground. That's one of the worst in college football so far this season. I think Liberty can just stick to the ground game. I like Cooley here to have himself a big day going up against FIU. Cooley has been good this season. 3 of the 4 games he's been in, he's had 12-plus carries. And in 3 of the 4 games so far, he's had 100-plus rushing yards. He's also managed to get himself in the end zone in 3 of those 4 games. So if you're looking for a guy to score a touchdown in this game, he might be minus 200, but I like him to get in the end zone as well. I'm going to take his over rushing yards, whatever it comes out at as the play there. Let's take a look at the recap graphic. We're going to go with FIU. They were plus 19.5, now plus 17.5. A little bit of action on them, bringing the number down. I'll take them plus 17.5. Eric Rivers over his total receiving yards against Liberty whenever it comes out. And then Quentin Cooley over his total rushing yards. If that one gets to like 110, I wouldn't touch it. If it's in the 100s, I'd take it. But anything over 110, I think we could just pass on that one. So hopefully he comes out in the 90s or 80s. But I will take him up to 109.5 as the play there. Guys, that's going to do it for the NCAA football plays and props for Tuesday, October 8th slate of games. If you guys enjoyed the content, please sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel below. See you guys next video, and thanks for watching.